Hi folks, and welcome back to another episode of Ricoh GR 102. This episode is called Advanced P Mode, and it's called that for a reason. We are going to revisit P mode on the dial here, program mode, and we're going to look at a slightly deeper dive into the menu. We looked at this in Ricoh GR 101. It's a great mode for beginners, but you can tweak it and get some more advanced usage out of it. Sorry I've been away for such a long time and not produced any videos in the last month or so, but the weather here has just been awful. I've been looking forward to winter and sunshine and deep long shadows with the low sun during the midday, and it just hasn't been there. It's been cloudy and rainy and grey and awful, and I just haven't been feeling like getting out shooting. But today we're doing some indoor videos, so that doesn't matter too much. Okay, P mode. Covered in the first GR 101 series. We're now going to be looking at it in here. Let me just get my exposure compensation up. P mode has this menu to support it. If we go into the main menu, select the camera option, still images, page 2, exposure settings, and then go down to this that is called program line here. Go into that one and you see we have three options. There are three options if you have the latest firmware or a more recent firmware. This last one here, depth of field priority deep, was added in a later firmware. You won't find this menu item in the original Ricoh manual for the GR3 or the GR3X. It came later, okay? Now, normal mode in program line does this. The camera is just looking for a good exposure. So if you close down your aperture towards f16, it needs to slow down the shutter, leave it open longer, let more photons hit that sensor to get it what the camera thinks is a good exposure. Okay, now when you adjust your front dial in P mode, it shifts this like that. Okay, don't think of it as aperture priority. A lot of people tend to think, well, this is just a kind of a dumbed down aperture priority. It's not. What it's doing is it's shifting this balance in one direction or the other. So as you turn your dial, you might be increasing your shutter speed, which will have to open up your aperture to let the same amount of light in to get that exposure that the camera wants to get. If you want a much deeper depth of field, then as you head up towards f11, 14, 16, then it has to slow down that shutter speed. And that is the price you pay. You can, of course, increase your ISO, which will make this much more flexible. Okay, so if you want to go to f16 and freeze motion, then you have to, you pay the price for that by increasing your ISO value, maybe introducing a little bit of noise, but you will be able to get this desired effect of kind of going like that. Increase shutter speed up in 1/500th, 1/800th of a second to freeze motion, and also keep your F values very high. That is an effect of ISO. So when you turn this front dial, you are swinging the balance between these two things here. You've also got exposure compensation to nudge what the camera thinks is a good exposure, either under or over, to brighten up the image or darken the image. But when we look in the program menu, the program line menu that we just looked at here, we have these three options. So the next option after normal, there's max aperture priority, and that will try to keep the aperture nice and wide open, which will allow you automatically for faster shutter speeds and possibly keep your ISO lower. Okay, the other option is deep depth of field. Now if I switch that on now, if we go to normal and just look at what I'm pressing out, we're kind of in the middle right now. We're at F5. Now let's go in the menu now in there and select deep depth of field. DOF priority deep. Press OK on that. And then look, and you can see it's already jumped up to f8. And that's the whole point of that part. That will increase your f-stop value, closing down your aperture, getting a deeper depth of field. So that's what that one's for. Go in the menu again and go to max aperture priority and take a test. And you can see now we're down at f4, f3.5, and if I was outside it would probably go right down to f2.8. okay, so you've got those settings that you can play with when you're in P mode, depending on what you want to do. Do you want to freeze motion? Then go for max aperture. Do you want to get a great depth of field? Then select the DOF option, the third option. If you don't care, just set it to normal and go out shooting and enjoy yourself. One obvious question that might come along might be, what if I want both? What if I want to both freeze motion and get that deep depth of field? Well, then perhaps P mode isn't for you and you need to take more control of the camera. Maybe go over to manual mode, set or aperture priority or any of the other settings, and go in and set a minimum ISO shutter speed when you're using auto ISO. So set your auto ISO up, set a minimum shutter speed of about 1/500th of a second. Make sure you've got plenty of light. This won't work indoors at night. You'll just get terrible pictures like that. But if you're outside during the day doing street photography, set up that minimum shutter speed, and you should be okay on any mode actually when you set your minimum shutter speed. And yeah, go in and choose one of those settings and see which one suits you best. That's it for now, for today, or for this video at least. I might be making another video today, and I will talk to you soon. Have fun, get out shooting. Bye for now.